India, China, Nigeria, Pakistan. It is a real diverse community.
A bit of a focal point for education.
Who wouldn't love Lincoln, quite frankly?
Well, obviously I'm going to agree with
that.
But
obviously we both agree. And I've probably said this every open day for the last 24 years. Find out about the course, but then go out. Go and feel the city and feel it, and it feels nice.
Student loans and student debt, young people worrying about that.
Cost of living is real, so we're working really hard to try and make it as affordable as possible.
Landscape of higher education is changing all the time.
Big ambition, big vision. It does remind us as to why we are here.
In this episode of Hey Lincoln, we hear from Emma Jubbs, Director of Marketing and Recruitment at the University of Lincoln. And we hear about the role of the university has played over its 30 years of existence, how students who come to Lincoln are not just part of the university, but a part of the city, and the university's role in supporting business and creating jobs in Lincoln and Lincolnshire. Welcome to Emma Jubbs from the University of Lincoln. Welcome to the Hey Lincoln studio here in the terrace. It's really good to have you here.
Thank you very much for inviting me.
So, Hey Lincoln, as you know, is a podcast that's giving us the opportunity for people in Lincoln to talk about what they do and their contribution to the city. You're based at the university. So tell us a bit about the University of Lincoln. What makes it unique? What makes the institution tick?
I think the university in Lincoln is to me so unique in the fact that we are a city centre camp. We are a campus smack bang in the city centre, which to me is absolutely unique. And we sort of we're not a campus that's away from the city. So we are very much embedded in Lincoln as a city. And the community feels like that as well. So you're not just a student at Lincoln, you are part of the city and Lincoln. And I think that's very unique.
I mean, I think that's part of the culture of the university, isn't it? I know when students come to Lincoln, that's what they're being sold in a way, isn't it? That the university and the city are really closely integrated.
Absolutely. And I think with Lincoln Big and other organisations in the city, we work really hard to make sure that continues. It's not just something that we say, you come to Lincoln and everybody loves you. Actually, we genuinely do love all of our students and the contribution that our students bring to the city. So the university is in Lincoln, it's of Lincoln, but it's got a wider kind of regional, national and even international reach, isn't it? Oh, absolutely. Absolutely, yeah. I mean, way back, over 30 years ago, we definitely decided that this was a university for the county and the region. But actually, in more recent years, we are absolutely beyond sort of the region. We recruit students from nationally. You know, we've got people that come to open days, I think, that travel from sort of Wales, from Cornwall, from every stretch of the UK. But actually internationally, we've grown massively internationally with markets from, India, China, Nigeria, Pakistan. It is a real diverse community.
And it's really added to the diverse cultural mix of the city.
Absolutely. The city has grown in diversity and the activities that we have, the mix of students, it is far beyond a regional university now. Yeah. That's
really good. So you're Director of Marketing and Recruitment at the university. So tell us a little bit about your journey into that role, how long you've been at the university, why you took on that career.
Yeah, I've been around for a long, long time at the university. So I'm heading towards 24 years at the university. I know. Very, very different university than when I started there, without question, which is why I'm still there, because actually year on year, it has grown, diversified every single year. I don't think there is ever a year that has been the same. So I think that's absolutely why I'm still there, because I love it and I'm very passionate about it. My background to getting here was actually still within Lincoln, very much a Lincoln girl. went to school in Lincoln, went to Lincoln College, and actually worked at Lincoln College.
Right.
So worked at Lincoln College for 9 years, back in the day when you were a secretary. So I was an admin, worked there, but then actually had a passion for marketing and got a job in marketing. And then it was sort of like a natural step to sort of go to the big guys at the university, and it snowballed from that. So those roots at Lincoln College, I think, absolutely gave me that foundation for recruitment at the university as well, and understanding where our students come from.
And I think it's really interesting, actually, that Lincoln has become a bit of a focal point for education, because as well as the university and its growth, obviously there's also Bishop Goss Test. The college has grown massively. And I think we now see Lincoln as a bit of an education hotspot in the region and growing in reputation for that.
I agree with that. I think we are also very fortunate that we've got some amazing schools in the city and the county as well, which we are incredibly grateful for. But you're absolutely right. The growth within sort of the city, particularly in FE and HE, is massive. We've sort of just almost created that ourselves, I guess. And so we are a real strong player in the region for education.
And of course, one of the reasons, and I've been around in Lincoln for a long time as well, one of the reasons the university was created was to anchor young people in Lincoln and in the county, to create business, to create jobs. And I think that's been one of the great success stories of the university over the years.
Oh, without question. I mean, we quite often chat to our alumni of the university over the years, and it's always so lovely to hear what they're doing, how they've progressed, how they've come to Lincoln from somewhere else in the UK but have stayed here. And you know, when the briefs were being written about the university and that project company, that's exactly what we wanted. We wanted those small businesses to come in. We at the university employ loads of alumni that have done incredibly well, because it is the talent, and we've brought and we've sort of nurtured that talent and done exactly what a university should do, and created the career route for people to go out and bring talent and diversity within the city.
And that's so important. And I think economically, the contribution the university has made to Lincoln has been absolutely massive. So what is it, I mean, you talked about open days and students coming to Lincoln. So why is it that when students come to Lincoln, why is it you think that they go, actually, this is where I want to come? Because, you know, they're bigger universities, they're perhaps more renowned institutions that they could go to.
There absolutely is. And we do fit very nicely with those big players regionally and nationally, I think now, which is exciting because it puts Lincoln on the map. But when they get here, I think, you know, who wouldn't love Lincoln? Quite frankly.
Well, obviously, I'm going to agree with that.
Obviously, we both agree with that, John, without question. But who wouldn't? You know, today the sun's shining, you turn, you look up at the cathedral. Now, how many 18-year-olds think that they will actually go and walk into that cathedral? But yet it's there, it's a statement. And that old and new at the top of the hill to the bottom. But yet, and I must say this, and I've probably said this every open day for the last 24 years, but actually we are so embedded as a campus that you can wake up at 5 to 9, be in that lecture theatre for 9 o'clock. And that is a beauty of it. You don't actually have to get a season ticket for a bus or a train or a tram. It literally is all there on your doorstep. And I think the city is, you know, we encourage people at open days to go out in the city. So, you know, find out about the course, but then go out into the city and actually go and feel the city and feel it. And it feels nice. And I think that's why people want to stay here, because everything is here on the doorstep. It's small and compact, but actually we've got everything.
And I think that's probably important for parents as well. I mean, I know when I took my children to university, you know, where they were going to be was important to me. So how important is it, things like safety in the city? You know, Lincoln is a safe place. It's a welcoming place.
It is. And we have an incredible wellbeing team, student support team at Lincoln. But not only that, we also have our own police presence. So we have our own PC on campus, not as a sort of as a bodyguard as such, but actually to keep our students safe and educate our students and ensure that we've got that presence that's visible on campus. And that's a brilliant addition. But also the partnerships, with not only Lincoln Big, but also with the police and other external agencies to ensure that actually when students are here, we don't just say it's a safe city, we've got evidence of that as well.
So that's all the positive side of it. But what are the challenges? Because we hear a lot about student loans and student debt and young people worrying about that, the cost of living crisis. So what are the challenges facing the students, but also the university moving forward?
I mean, there are a lot of challenges in higher education and in the sector at the moment. I don't think we can escape from that. Cost of living is real. And I think parents and families are feeling that. All of the positives, I believe, outweigh that. But the challenges very much are that as a city, we are not one of the big players. So there's still people that have never heard of Lincoln. So getting that place, sense of place of Lincoln is a challenge and one that we need to overcome. Also, you know, the cost of families is real. The value of a university education, and whilst we can say an awful lot of success stories, when you're sat there and looking at budgets as a family, it's ensuring that investment is worth it, and that is the challenges that we're facing.
So how do we compare to other university towns and cities in terms of the costs of studying here in Lincoln? I mean, obviously the fees are the same wherever you go.
The fees are standard across the UK. Our accommodation, our student accommodation varies, and we have, certainly for this year, we have accommodation that starts at £99 a week, which is competitive. Pretty reasonable. And some really good accommodation as well. So, you know, parents and families can always see that actually you're going to feel okay staying in our accommodation. The city work with us. And so student nights can mean that actually you can have an affordable night out. Lincoln Big have this sort of student voucher scheme, which means that you can go into the high street and have that sort of support. And there is additional sort of voucher schemes and things that students can work to ensure that they're getting the best value for money at the university. Internally, we do our sort of yellow label lunches after sort of 2:30 as such, so we can, you know, so that students can get hot meals at the end of the day. So we're working really hard to try and make it as affordable as possible, because it's
really important.
Important that students have that affordability and the chance to get some part-time work as well.
I know from my own experience or my own knowledge that during lockdown, for instance, the university was really focused on student welfare and supporting those students who were here. And I think it is one of the strengths of the university, and I know others were perhaps not quite so good at this, in supporting and thinking about the welfare of students. I
mean, I think it should be our strapline really, but I think, you know, the student is at the heart of absolutely everything that we do. And I think we could evidence that time and time again. You know, you come to Lincoln and actually we do care about the students, whether it's, you know, ensuring that they get their assignment in on time, or actually that they've got the opportunity for part-time work, or that if they are struggling with something, we can support that. And actually having that close environment sort of by location and physicality, I think that helps as well with that.
It's one of the advantages, I guess, of being a relatively small university compared to some others. I mean, large enough to deliver the courses and the facilities, but not so big that people who've moved away from their parents feel lost.
Exactly. I think the transition, and as we try to move on from COVID, it's real, and the students that are coming in now have been affected by COVID. There is no question of that, and so that transition from a really close-knit sixth form into what seems like quite a big university can be quite a challenge in those early months and a first year particularly. And that's why we make sure that we do have every mechanism in place to make sure that students feel comfortable with us. That's
really good. And that's part of the culture of the city as well, I think. It's that Lincoln is such a welcoming place. So we talked a little bit about the growth of the university today. What does the future for the university look like? Because the landscape of higher education is changing all the time. So could you say a little bit about the future vision and aims and ambitions for the university?
Yeah, I mean, I think one of our strengths is, and we wouldn't be where we are sort of heading towards our 30-year anniversary in 2026 without having huge ambitions. We've been really fortunate in the fact that we've had vice-chancellors that have been incredibly ambitious and not content with just sitting, being this little university in Lincoln, with big ambition, big vision, which makes it really exciting. But the future, I think the future is there with lots of projects and how we can support the sort of skills, the workforce of the future. I think the health agenda for Lincoln, for the University of Lincoln, is definitely up there as a priority. We've got a few projects that are in development within the health region, which is really exciting for Lincoln. And I think the key is we're not prepared to just sit and wait and say we're content with this. That's not the university we are. It's sort of forward-thinking, ambitious, and sort of a vision of growth.
That focus on health, I think, it just reminds me that it's only 5 or 6 years ago the medical school opened. And I remember seeing posts from the first graduate doctors leaving the University of Lincoln, going and working in the county hospital in Lincoln, and just thinking that's why the university was created.
Absolutely.
And I know that there's a lot of investment and a lot of purpose around promoting health and the health agenda of and teaching the doctors and the nurses of the future.
Absolutely. I mean, it's so heartwarming that actually sort of in September we had graduation with those first University of Lincoln, or Lincoln doctors, should we say. And that was an ambition that both you and I know was on the agenda in Lincoln for a very long time and took years in the making. But incredibly proud that that's happened. The nursing, again, much further sort of down the line, but we had sort of nurses, the first nurses crossing, the first midwives, we offer physiotherapy, the whole range of sort of health, the health agenda, and that's really strong, I feel, and can only grow.
And it's really important because we know some of the disadvantages in terms of health outcomes in Lincoln and Lincolnshire. So actually having a university that's got that focus is a real demonstration of its importance to the wider city and county, I think.
And it's the county, isn't it? I think that's what you've just sort of touched on. It is, we're not, the city is vibrant. The minute you go out of the city, we can be sort of an hour and a half away to some of the wider reaches of the county, and the rural community health agenda is and needs support and bolstering, and that's what we sort of embed into those courses really across all of the range.
I think it's interesting that the current Vice Chancellor, I know one of the things he talks about is how, although it's called the University of Lincoln, it's the University for Lincoln and Lincolnshire. And I think that reinforcement of the university's wider role is a real positive endorsement of why the university was created in the first place.
It is. I think our current Vice-Chancellor absolutely reminds all staff of that on a regular basis, which is absolutely healthy, I think, because it does remind us as to why we are here, and why not?
Yeah,
So
just thinking about the future then, because obviously the way education is delivered, I mean, it changed during the pandemic, but looking forward to the future, more online learning, more distance learning, more flexible learning, do you think, for the university?
It's interesting because we are sort of developing our online learning, but what we are also doing is looking at sort of working with apprenticeships and developing that a little further, and working with businesses. So whilst I'm not suggesting that we do have our online provision, but actually I think our growth area is likely to be with business to business support, and sort of bespoke courses and apprenticeships for businesses locally and regionally as well.
I think that's interesting, because I think a lot of people think that all the university does is it teaches 15,000 undergraduate students every year, but there's a wealth of other things.
Oh, yeah.
Sort of different types of learning, but also consultancy and those things that the university does with business.
In absolutely really niche and specialist markets.
Yeah.
So be that sport, be that sort of the arts, the culture, and Lincoln has a really growing sort of arts culture.
Absolutely.
With the Barbican and other areas in the city. And that's an area of growth as well, So there is a whole range of little pockets that you probably don't even know about, but the enterprises with businesses and the research elements that we work with partners in business is, you're absolutely right. It's not those young, fresh 18-year-olds that absolutely, it's only part of the story. You're absolutely right. It's just part of that story.
Well, hopefully by listening to this podcast, people will start to tease out a little bit more about what the university does for the city. So it's been really, really good having you on here. So the future for the university, is it more growth? Is it more students? Is it new courses? Is it new buildings? Because lots of people comment that the university is always building something new.
I think we did always build a new build. I think we had a new build for a number of years. I'm not sure we can fit an awful lot more in.
No, I think you only get space
at the moment. So probably not a new build, but absolutely development. We are searching all of the time to make sure that we are not just along with trends, but ahead of the trends, to ensure that we've got an offering for the future students, and ensure that our programmes are right for the future workforce. And that means sort of consistently looking and checking that our delivery and our offer is right. And so there will be more diversity of the programmes as we move forward.
Well, that's really good. So, Emma, thanks so much for coming in.
Thank you very much.
It's been really interesting. Now, we're asking each of our guests at the end of each of these recordings to sum up what Lincoln means for them in one word. So, what would your word be?
One word. Gosh, I have lots of words always, John. That's the biggest challenge.
We have found this is quite difficult for some people.
I'd just say passion.
Passion.
Yeah, I think everybody in Lincoln is absolutely, once you're here, you feel that passion for the city.
Yeah, that's definitely, I mean, because I'm not from Lincoln, and I think that's right. You come here and you do fall in love with the place. And I also think passion's a really appropriate word, because people I know who work at the university are so passionate about the institution, as well as about the city. So, Emma, thank you so much for coming in. It's been brilliant having you here.
Thank you very much.